Hello and welcome to Coffee Charge Conversations here at Real Global Productions. Today we are joined by Mark de Gouveia and Matthew Inwood from Thrive Labs. And I'm not sure if you know already, I've kind of kept this a secret up until now, but that's where we've been doing our ice baths before each episode. Mark, Maddie, how you guys doing?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having us. Yeah.
So how did you find the ice bath experience this morning?
Yeah, it's interesting because the temperature of the water never changes. But now, obviously, that we are in winter, it is a lot harder to embrace and actually deal with. So yeah, there is a lot more intensity that comes with it. Got to really get out of the mind. But nonetheless, having pushed through it, amazing, really amazing. Feeling super awake, refreshed, and I'm so grateful that I put myself in that space to deal with that stress, so that everything else is like a breeze for the rest of the day.
And why do you do ice baths? I mean, I know why I do it now. I think I've probably done about 15. Mark, you said you've done about 1,000
Yeah,
ice
I've already
baths.
over 1,000 now. It's over 4 years. Yeah.
And why do you do ice baths?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of starts off with how it makes you feel. And then, I shifted into it's helping me lose weight. I went from like 77 kgs down to 62 at one point. I was like, geez, I think I've got a disease. So I had to kind of dial back a little bit dial up my eating side of things. But when you start to explore these things and with the way that I approach my life in general, I get really obsessive over things that I get into. So I mean, I know the benefits on a mental basis is like 250% increase in dopamine. So that's like your motivation hormone. There's also a bit of happiness in there, clarity of thought. Then norepinephrine, which is a stress modulator. So it kind of throws your body into that stress and pulls you out. So it's like you at a level of stress, it throws you into a much heightened level of stress, and then it pulls you right. Your body's like, oh, okay, no, actually I'm fine. And then it drops you right back down into your parasympathetic. So like for me, that's actually one of the main things that's the compliments or the benefits that people communicate to us. And it's always like, geez, like my anxiety is just dissipating. My depression is just feeling so much more manageable. Like people are saying like, geez, I actually feel like going to work. So it like completely changes that. But I mean, and then on top of that, on a kind of more longevity basis, your mitochondrial function goes through the roof, which is, mitochondria is responsible for getting rid of disease, inflammation, producing energy in the body. It's like
the powerhouse of the cell.
I
remember that from biology.
Everyone, absolutely. And it protects the DNA, so it protects our longevity, the telomeres at the end of our DNA strands, and collagen production, inflammation, cold shock proteins, which help with protein unfolding. So basically helps your cellular function a lot better, get rid of damaged dead cells, zombie cells, senescent cells is what they're called, and then the ones that are damaged, repair them.
And why did Thrive Labs need to start in the first place? What got you interested in the wellness space out of all industries?
So I've been in the wellness space for many years. I opened up a company, called Imara years and years ago. That was just one big expensive lesson, but it was great. It was hard at the time. But I've been doing martial arts for like 18 years. So I've always just had a deep interest in performing. And I think when I came across biohacking, it really sunk in for me, the importance of this and the fact that it's possible, which was, the guy, Dave Asprey, that, he doesn't know it, but he's one of my mentors. He wants to live to 180. And he 100% believes it. He's done all the work and the research into it. And, you know, I've kind of gotten to the point where I've said, like, I want to be the oldest person to be able to do a backflip. So like 120, I want to be able to do a backflip. Still do a backflip. I can do a backflip. But, you know, it's realizing and loving my martial arts so much. You know, I mean, I train capoeira 3, 4, 5 times a week, and loving it so much, the idea of longevity within that just like opened up my heart to this. It just made so much sense through all these biohacks on longevity and aging backwards and those sorts of things, and giving you that opportunity. And as I started to delve deeper into it and actually experience it, doing the fasting, doing the keto style eating, cyclic, doing the ice bars, going in for saunas and stuff, I just started to see my performance just increase. And like now I'm 39 years old and I've never been faster, stronger. Like my focus, mental cognition, everything. I feel more intelligent. I feel happier. I feel more in control, and also able to let go of certain things that aren't necessary. So I feel like that is, it's where it all started, and it's where, and like for me to experience that, I was like, everyone needs this. Everyone needs this, because normal is supposed to feel amazing. It's not supposed to feel like
mundane and boring.
Exactly, and brain fog and slow and no energy and pain. You're not supposed to experience that stuff consistently. You know, obviously that stuff is part of the ebbs and flows of life, but it's not supposed to be like that the whole time. That's not normal.
Yeah, and I think having that realization that, first of all, we are capable of taking control of our biology. It's something that's almost been such a foreign concept, especially in the world of conventional medicine. We've always become so reliant on external things to make us feel good, or whatever the case. And realizing that we can take control of that, of health, on the mental level, on the physical and the emotional. It's such a gift to yourself. You owe yourself that. Your health is the one thing that is the most important to you in life. And to share that gift with the world, well, it's a ripple effect. What kind of a world could we change and make if everybody's operating from their healthiest self?
And so obviously you've got the physical aspect, but then I think the mental aspect is being talked about a lot more these days, and practices such as meditation have become more important and more talked about. And you see a lot of successful people are meditating and really taking care of their mind. What kind of meditation practices do you guys do?
Well, we have a foundation meditation called Vipassana, which is a technique that was established by Buddha about 500 years before Christ. And it's a technique of self-observation. And it's about becoming aware of the sensations within the body, and kind of observing just your breath and whatever sensation is going on. It is a difficult practice because it requires you coming out of the mind state. You're constantly bringing yourself back to the present moment with using your breath as an anchor. And we do a sitting for about an hour every morning, which is quite a big practice. I mean, you know, it takes quite a lot to silence the mind, even within 10 minutes. So a lot of us go to general like 10, 15-minute mindfulness practice, which you can definitely quieten the mind, but it's not enough. If you really want to go deeper with it, you really need to push a lot further. So we do a sitting for quite a long time, where it is a lot of self-observation, free from the analytical mind, free from the thinking.
Or trying to.
And that's the practice. That is the practice. I mean, it's crazy, because your mind will wander, and you know, okay, I need to take a breath and focus on the breath, and you can do that, and then all of a sudden your mind will wander with thoughts, and you think, I'm meditating, I need to come back. And this practice, you have what is called a gap of non-mind, where you are not in the thinking mind, you're more in the flow state of the meditation, being with yourself. And little bit by little bit, that practice grows, and gradually you become better at it, and you will find that the duration of the gap of non-mind increases, and your meditation practice deepens within that.
But then like also taking that into your daily life. So it's basically practicing presence, and the voice inside your head is consistently trying to pull you into past and future. So this is like a really good practice where you sit down and you start to pull yourself into the present moment, and say, like, you try actually stay absolutely still. You don't move. So if you feel a sensation, an itch or a pain or whatever, you actually observe it. You observe it arrive and you observe it leaving. And then you start to do that in real life, realizing that the law of impermanence is in play all the time. And if you just stay equanimous the whole time, you don't have to ride the wave of the emotions and the good times and the bad times. You can just stay in the middle, experience it, but not attach to it, because we get to this immense happiness and then we want to attach to that happiness. It's like, I want this, but then you're going to drop. You are going to drop.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's better to kind of phase it in the middle. And then as you go through your day, you constantly remind yourself to be present. If you feel anxiety, you know that you're thinking about the future. If you're feeling guilt or shame, you know that you're thinking about the past. And you start to realize, and you, oh shit, okay, no, let me pull myself back, and you focus on your breath or any sensation you feel on your body. And if you do that enough, and when you do that enough, you see how anxiety just like dissipates. And the shame and guilt that we feel from things that we might have done in the past dissipates. And you can sit just in that middle point of peace, allowing emotions to come in, because we are emotional beings. We are going to feel sadness. We are going to feel happiness. We are going to feel anger. But it's rather to feel them rather than become them. Because everyone's like, I am happy. I am sad. No, you're not. You're feeling happy. You're feeling sad. And to allow that feeling to just be there. And just experiencing it fully. It's like, no, I don't have time for sadness. You do have time for sadness. You better do it. Otherwise, you're going to push it down. And all those repressed emotions then start to come up in a physical manifestation of disease.
I struggle a little bit with that, because I find when I meditate, my natural thing is I like to pace when I'm overthinking. So I like to go for a walk. I like to be active. I can't just sit down and be stagnant. So for me, I find meditating quite difficult, and I usually meditate for about 10 minutes or so at the start of the day.
The walk is a meditation, though.
How do walking meditations work? I've heard of those before, but do you have to close your eyes in order to meditate?
No, I don't. No way.
No, you don't need to be in. You don't need to have closed eyes to be meditating. Meditating, again, is a state of presence and awareness, and how aware you are of everything around you, without, as I said, having the analytical mind take over and you start pulling yourself out of the present moment into the future or into the past. So you can be going for a walk and just taking in absolutely everything around you, the sounds, the smell, the sight. That is a meditative practice where you are so present and you are not also reactive. The practice of meditation is to be so accepting of the reality as it is. And with our thoughts and with our feelings, we tend to shift that because, again, as Mark said, it's like, I don't want to feel sad. You're changing that reality because you're not prepared to face what is going on. And when we do face that state, and that state of being, we don't suppress anything, we allow things to come up. So being in that meditative space, it's I'm just trying to find the right word. It really puts you in freedom. It really puts you in freedom, free from your thoughts, free from the illusion of what you're creating around you. So yeah, just being present with everything that you're doing to the most heightened state.
Because the past and the future don't exist. The past has happened. It cannot. There's nothing that can be done about it. It is done. It no longer exists.
Yeah.
And the future, whatever you can possibly think of the future, is bullshit. It does not exist. The only thing that is true is here and now. That is the only truth. There cannot be a future. And I know it's a hard concept to grasp onto, but how many times have we stressed about something that we thought might happen? Or think is happening outside it now? So like, let's say your missus is out jolling and you're worried about her hooking up or something along those lines. That reality does not exist. The only thing that exists is what you can see. So that is the only thing you have power over, is here and now. And we get completely pulled out of that into these things. So the meditation, essentially, the word meditation should just disappear, and that should actually be how we live. The art of living. It is to be present with every single moment. So you go for your walk and you feel the pressure of every step you take. as you're walking through. You feel the breeze on your face. You feel how your jacket feels on. You listen to the sounds. You smell. So you use all your senses. You actually, and I don't mean 5 senses, because that 5 is bullshit as well. There's not 5 senses. How do you feel emotion? It's like, oh no, we've got 5 senses. But then you feel angry. What sense is that? Yeah, you can feel if someone else is angry. You don't have to actually, but what sense is that? So and then intuition and all of these things. So you got all these senses. So you start to tap into who you really are. That's really where your authentic nature comes from. And you stop and you can feel into your heart. How does my emotional state feel? What is it feeling like in my solar plexus? What is it feeling like in my heart? And you can really tap into so many different things. And that's where meditation really comes into play. And where it should dissolve into life is to completely be present with every aspect of here and now.
Yeah, and it's definitely about like relinquishing that control, because to some degree we all want to control an outcome.
Yeah.
And just talking about the space that we operate from, we spoke about it earlier, is that you cannot control any outcome. You can only control the input that you're putting in, right? And to the two sides of the same coin is you've got faith and certainty, and on the other side of that there's doubt and fear. And you can go into a situation and put yourself into it, obviously concerned for the outcome. But as soon as you realize that you have no control over that, you can shift out of a space of doubt or fear and just sit in that space of faith. And it's something that I've been practicing within my own life now, is that I've come to realize that there's only so much you can do. As long as you're doing it, it doesn't matter the outcome. But if you're operating from a space of just calmness, stillness, and faith, you will control how you feel about the situation, because that's all that you can control actually, is yourself, how you react to the world, how you respond, not on the external side of things. So meditation essentially is the gift to become more in control of yourself, but it takes relinquishing the control to get there.
And now, so you're trying to be more present, but obviously there's different types of meditation. And one of those that I've been trying recently is visualization. But now visualization's more looking into the future. How does a visualization practice differ from, a practice where you just in touch with your own senses?
So I would say that both need to be practiced at the same time, because the visualization process on manifestation is rooted in the present moment. It's how to bring it into the now. So you have to be feeling like those sensations on the body while you're doing the visualization. So you can be here and feel like you are here and in that visualization in one moment. There's the visualization is important. I believe that it's something that should be done. I do it myself. Me and Maddie do it very, very often. We talk about these things, and to get an emotion into it and the presence into it. So that there's this concept of emotion is energy in motion. So your energy that you create through an emotion through your heart is going to attract. That's why when we fear something, we start to actually manifest it into our lives. But
and then it pops up a little bit more often.
Exactly.
It feels like you can't get away from
You're validating it. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And the more you kind of focus on your problems, the more the problem starts exacerbating itself, or you're exacerbating it. So it just keeps on pulling and pulling and pulling into the now. But with the visualization, it's to visit the future so that you can start to act now on what steps need to be taken to get there. Where what is happening with humanity is that everyone is stuck in their egoic mind. They think they are their ego. And like the life that we're living now is actually to find out, like our main foundational purpose before procreation is to find out who we are and who we are not. And that ego mind is who we are not.
Sure.
So it's like to actually see this ego as the devil, as I would like to put it. It is the one that is like, gives you all the confidence only when you're doing things right, and pulling you down when you've done something wrong. No compassion, no patience with yourself in that matter. And it's like it's the temptation. It's the one that's got the bad habits, that's going for the dopamine hits. So we are constantly allowing the ego to pull us into the future and the past, and every now and then we visit the present. And we have to completely invert that. But visualization is a very good practice also to understand that you are intentionally, deliberately, like ice bars, you're intentionally, deliberately putting yourself in stress. You're intentionally, deliberately putting yourself into a future situation because that's where you want to go. Now you figure out the steps to take to get there. And it reminds me of, I was in a dark room retreat. So it's 3 days. I did 3 days in a dark room, like absolute pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your face.
And do you actually pay to do that?
Yes.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, no, there's a lady named Jackie that does it in 4 ways, and it is amazing. It honestly is just like, you want to start a business or you're trying to figure something out or get some answers, you're taking out like the main sense from your experience. So you start to go deep into yourself and start like the creativity and the concepts and the understandings that come from this are just amazing. But I realized I wanted to go to the bathroom. So it's like, that's my visualization. I can't see the bathroom. I definitely can't see the bathroom. But I know that I want to get there. But I got to figure out where the walls are. So I started to realize that as we go through these processes, you come to... I've set my goal. I need to start taking steps. I can't think about peeing now because I'm not there yet. So I have to think about the steps that I need to go there. Like peeing is now, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I just need to take my steps. But along the way, I reached out. So I've laid my visualization. I now find a wall. That's my doubt, my fear. I use that to understand where I want to go. Where most of the time, and what's been happening throughout my life, is that I get fear and I focus on that fear and I start freaking out. Nervous, anxiety, all this stuff. But actually, all the fear is a tool to show you, okay, I feel fear. The visual that I'm getting is this. I need to now take that visualization and say, okay, I am afraid of not getting that. So let me focus on getting that. So you use your fear to shift yourself into a position where now you can focus on what you want rather than like obsessing over what could go wrong. You just use it and flip it over. And it's the same thing, like with that process, you're just being completely deliberate with everything that you do, every step you take.
So it's almost like you getting your purpose behind it, your main goal. That's the focus, and then you pick up the steps along the way.
Yeah.
You mentioned purpose earlier. Have you found your purpose?
I think I've found my purpose towards my purpose. I can't really know if I've reached it. But more and more, I'm definitely realizing it, and it's certainly along the lines of physical health. And then now more recently, over the last like 12 months, realizing how messed up the psychology is of humanity. Like this egoic mind is this consciousness that's descended on humanity, and that's why this planet is so sick. And everyone is so sick. And it's like, what I would love to do is give everyone the tools to get themselves into this present moment, because the more I do it, I just love everyone, like unconditionally. And it's a hard thing to say and a hard thing for people to grasp onto, but I realize that the depth that someone hurts another has got fully to do with the depth that they've been hurt. And the depth that a person can meet you at is the depth at which they have known themselves. So for everyone to start to go deeper and find that present moment where anxiety and stress and all of that actually doesn't exist is the most beautiful, beautiful place.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not an easy place to be in as well, because we are constantly stimulated by the outside world. Everything around us, what we're perceiving, what is programming us. And as a result, we don't go inward. We don't go and explore the nature of life inside of us. And as much as what is going on around us is what is going on inside of us, but we are so unaware of it. So shifting that focus and doing the internal work and starting to become more aware through the meditative practice of observation and not thoughts that's how you start to become aware of, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm experiencing this. Oh, I didn't know that that emotion was there, or where did this come from? And you slowly start to dissect and pick and pull back the layers of yourself, energetically, physically, emotionally, mentally. You do so much deep work. And coming back to, you know, why we wanted to create this space is because, again, the world deserves that. We really deserve the education of knowing what we are capable of, what we are, where we stem from, and how we can regulate ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally,
and reach our potential.
and reach that full potential. Yes.
And I think a lot of, because from reading Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, I found it quite interesting how he said a lot of people let outward problems define their inward mindset.
Yes.
So everything was, a lot of people saw the world as cause and effect, but often people don't realize that they can cause an effect.
Yeah, well, that's coming back to how I was saying, like, you cannot control what is going on around you. You can only control how you react to that. And because of the amount of programming and stimulus we get, we become super reactive. We become emotionally charged. We're not sure where it stems from. So we become impulsive and we act out. But if you do go inward and you focus more on that, and it takes a great deal of practice and a great deal of focus and commitment, being kind with yourself, being patient to learn that you can regulate yourself internally.
And this concept from Dr. David Hawkins, he wrote a book called Letting Go. Man, what a book. But he introduced this concept of the world outside of us being a mirror. And instead of, so like if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, if you can like trust that this is a process and a reality, because it's like our inward environment actually projects out into the world. And if you looking at yourself, if you're standing there looking at yourself in the mirror and you want to make the reflection smile, are you going to go to the mirror and try like, that's not going to work. You have to do it.
Sure.
So you start a beautiful way, and it's really, really hard, especially like as people that drive, like South Africa, we got people that, it's not a lot of public transport, but those that drive, I started using driving as a tool to help me really get into this. And it's to see that everything that is happening around me, it's just a mirror reflecting back at me, showing certain things. So I get to use the world outside to help regulate my nervous system. So when I'm feeling stressed and angry and all the rest of it, I realize that it's me, and I just have to feel these emotions and they actually dissipate. And this is what he goes through in the book. And our better half, or other halves, they are like a mushroom hero dose, an ayahuasca trip. There is no better medicine for your psychology, for your ego mind, for your process through life than your partner. Because you can use them to show you the mirror, because there is nothing about that person that is irritating you. It is you. It is your irritation. It is things about yourself that you haven't accepted. Because as soon as you fully accept yourself, you will accept everything around. So when we allow people to be exactly who they are without judgment, that gives us the permission to allow ourselves to be our authentic self.
And how can we do that? How can we be more vulnerable and authentic in a world that feels like it's become a little bit more materialistic and success based and money more? You got that big grind culture and just hustle, and
as I said earlier, I think it takes a great deal of bravery, obviously, and even though we have all of these external things, there is still a part of our human nature as wanting to be seen and to be loved. And so we're all kind of just waiting for somebody to step into that space and shine their light. It's like, when you go to a nightclub and there's an empty dance floor and like everybody's eager to get in, but you're kind of just waiting for that one person to get involved. And then it's like, hey, there's more people and we go.
Yeah.
We're not aware of it, but we are all seeking that to some degree. So if you are aware of this and you think, you know what, I am going to be unapologetically me and be myself, there are people that are watching. Everybody's watching and taking it in. And as soon as you do that, people will resonate with that frequency because, again, it's authenticity, right? It is such a powerful thing. And as soon as someone sees that, it might be a bit hesitant at first, but if we can practice that and share that with each other, that permission will roll out and roll out. And it happens like a ripple effect, and it happens without us knowing, but people just step out of their shells.
And then we talk about that mirror. So it's like we're human beings. So when I am a human being, that then gives the permission to other people. It's the inner work that goes out. I have been, as a martial arts instructor for the past 15 years, I have told people what to do. And I've never, ever, ever had a better response and more receptiveness from people than I have over the past 4 years of being and doing, of being that example. People are coming to me. I don't have to go to them. Like I've stopped giving advice to people. I used to always want to try help, realizing that what am I doing? I want help.
Wow.
And using that mirror. And as soon as that happens and you're like, I don't need a help. If someone wants help, they will come to me. And like so many times I've gone to a few people and I've said, yes, I'm so proud of you. Like you're amazing. You're going and you're following your dream. And you know, and this isn't said in ego, but it was such a beautiful thing to receive. And they said to me, it's because of you. It's like, because you're brave, because I saw you doing it. It's like, why can't I? And it absolutely is that. It's like you watch someone else, it's like, but he's also human. There's nothing more that I am than anyone else is. We are all equal, but special. We all have an authentic, beautiful gift to give to the world, something unique. And we all do it in our own way. But the foundation of that is we all have the same ability to make that happen.
Yeah, you definitely stop seeing yourself as separate from everybody else. I mean, there's this whole concept of how connected we are and how one we are with everything. When I mean, like, what does that mean? How deep does that go? And I mean, if you think about it from a heartbeat to the blood flow to the neurons firing in your brain, there's 8 billion of us on the planet, and we all wired the same to some degree. So
and all wired together.
So as soon as you start to relinquish that control and just be your authentic self, people pick up on that physiologically, energetically. That is human nature.
There was that thing with the Rubik's Cube. I don't know if you know about it. So there was the guy, I think for like 2 years, I don't know the exact timeline, but no one could do the Rubik's Cube in the 70s. Could not. Like it was considered impossible. And then I think someone in China figured it out and they did it. Within a week, another person had done it in the States. And within like 2 weeks or a month or some sort of very short timeline, it was just happening. Like so many people started getting this. And if you look at it, it's nuts because it's like this extremely long period of time where no one could do it. Then one person does it and all of a sudden it's like, with no relation, no teaching, no nothing. Exactly. It's the same as the 2 hour, what was it, the 2 hour marathon or the 3 hour marathon or something years ago. I think the 3 hour, because the 2 hours just been broken now. Where it was like considered completely impossible. One person did it and then boop, 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 boop. And it's this collective consciousness where you don't get taught anything. It just goes into the kind of that connection beneath what we can understand. You know, we see between ultraviolet and infrared. So that's the only thing that's real? You know, we hear between certain frequencies. That's the only thing that's real? No way. There's so much outside of that. And there's so much information that is sitting in that kind of part that is not in the physical that is very, very, very obvious. And it's becoming more and more obvious through quantum physics. And they're like bringing that up to, it's becoming mainstream.
And from a physical perspective, so you've obviously got the mindset practices and stuff like that. How can we look after ourselves physically to help us mentally, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Well, look, it's first, I think, becoming aware and understanding how I like to look at health. It's like a pyramid, basically, and you've got three sides to it, and you've got your mental, your physical, and your emotional side. And understanding how each one feeds each other. You know, if you want to be in a good space mentally, you need to feed your body correct to get the right kind of nutrients, to release the right kind of chemicals for your brain to function optimally. And understanding this, we kind of start stepping outside of the world of what we are so used to with all, for example, we eat mostly processed foods. We're stimulated by a lot of television and all these things. And in some way it's draining us. It's not giving us the optimal energy we need. And so realizing on the physical level, as soon as you get good sleep and you feed yourself correctly, I feel so much more mental clarity. I feel emotionally regulated. And, you know, it's this exploration of back and forth and trying things, as I said to you before, we start implementing new things and we start feeling good, and that we don't really have an understanding to what degree it's beneficial for us until we stop doing it. And then you realize, oh, something is a little bit different. I don't have that same level of energy. You know, I don't feel as good. And then you go back to the practice and you start doing those things. You go, whoa, okay, I actually realized that feeding myself good was benefiting me. But it takes a little bit of time. It takes a bit of reprogramming.
A lot of reprogramming.
It takes a lot of it. And then from that, you start to realize, cool, where else can I push this? What else can I do for myself through the physical optimization that will serve me? And again, as I said, it just feeds that pillar of your mental, your physical, emotional self. Because that's the basis of what we are.
And they all need to be balanced, I'm sure.
Absolutely. But the thing is, like, there's also external matters, and external and internal. So an internal being like a parasite. And it's so interesting because we all get ourselves into situations where we're like, why am I on edge? Why am I frustrated? And sometimes the answer isn't because something is happening. Sometimes it's actually a parasite that's connected into the body and is sending signals. And it actually changes the personality within the individual. So for me, like, one of the most important things, so like sleep is number one. If you do not have sleep, you have a rickety foundation that you're building on. There's like no ground. You're like literally trying to build it on water. It cannot be done. Sleep is the most important thing that you must focus on 100%, because without it, you are fucked. Then it's sunlight, grounding, and hydration. And when I say hydration, I do mean with minerals, because we're peeing out salt. You're crying out salt, you're sweating out salt, and then we're drinking like just flat water. You have to put minerals back in the body. You got to put salt. Oryx desert salt's an amazing salt to put in your water, and it's local. But to keep your water salted, get those minerals in. I mean, we're a battery, so to have those things, to have the salts in to help the cellular hydration as well as the electrical signals from the brain. And then my next one is parasite cleanse. Like, it is so important to cleanse yourself and open up your detox pathways. Get all these bugs and stuff out. And it's, you know, if you're coming into contact with pets and all the rest of it, it's entering the body, and it literally changes your psychology. It has the ability to change the way you think. It logs in. It's like, you're not giving me enough sugar, so I'm going to give you a little bit of anxiety, because I know that when I give you anxiety, you run to sugar.
Sure.
So it actually starts to create patterns within you, and it's not even your patterns. It's very, very interesting. And then it would be nutrition and exercise.
So would you say what you eat has a direct correlation with how you think and your
100%.
who you are, really?
Yeah, it's the foundation of the health within a human being. Our gut health, our microbiome, that is, if you keep that in check, you are free from disease. And there is, again, always going to be some kind of external factors and stuff. But if you are constantly in a state of ketosis and homeostasis, your ability to bounce back if there is kind of infection that is a lot stronger. Your resilience goes through the roof. Your hormones can function correctly. You've got, you know, your physiology is in the right space. And we underestimate the power of this. But again, when you start practicing this and realize this, you feel the mental clarity, you feel the emotional regulation. It is super important.
Like 80% of your serotonin is made in your gut. 80% of your dopamine is made in your gut.
That's crazy. So even if you do all the mindfulness practices and you work on yourself and your emotions, the foods you eat,
Well,
can still mess that up.
like I know my presence changes the more sugar I eat, and I love sugar.
Huge.
Like I
Yeah.
I have to really like push it away. But you start to realize like how much do you love yourself? And you should love yourself more than anything and anyone. And essentially, like our whole basis is run on self-worth. We have certain traumas and all the rest of it that wear away at our self-worth. But there's only two constants in the world. One is your self-worth. You cannot change. And the other one is change. Those two. And so with that self-worth, sure, I forgot my train of thought now. Sure, not being present.
Well, it happens to everyone,
Of course.
I guess.
Yeah. Where was I with that? So-
Self-worth.
Yeah, no, I know, but I don't know where I was from before that. Microbiome, serotonin. So having that self-worth, we will feed ourselves, and I'm talking about going onto Netflix, going on, listening to angry music. All of this stuff is programming us. It's like you've got this like unbelievable technology. I mean, look at this thing. It is insane what this thing can do. It is
Yeah.
nuts. But now you want to put like diesel in a petrol car.
Yeah.
So you start feeding the wrong things because it's going to give you comfort, but it's because we're so afraid of the discomfort. But I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have heard this, but the price of progress is pain. And we have to be comfortable with the pain of the emotions of not eating the comfort things and all the rest of it. And you won't believe what a difference that makes to the body and then to the mind. And they balance out, like Maddie's saying. It's like that triangle. It's going from, like, they are all interlinked. Your emotional, your mental, and your physical. If your physical's out, your mental's out. If your mental's out, your physical's going to be out. And it's a constant thing. So it's like, Maddie talking about the inputs as well. We can only control the inputs. So what are you inputting? And I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about like you're watching Netflix, you're watching this unbelievable series that just really gets your heart so intense about this guy who got his wife gets cancer, and then from that like the husband's there, and it's just I cried, and you're just introducing the concept of cancer into your life because you are energy in motion, emotion. You're actually engaging with this concept and creating it within your reality.
Giving it a charge, technically.
So the music you listen to, you mentioned music as well. You reckon if you listen to like a lot of angry music or sad music, you become angrier or sadder?
Well, listen to it and see how you feel. So that observation that we talk about, the observation between like, I do this, how do I feel? How do I feel before? How do I feel during? How do I feel after? I eat this. How do I feel before? How do I feel during? How do I feel after? I interact with this individual. How do I feel before? How do I feel during? How do I feel after? And if you're constantly present with that, you will start to see, okay, this person is good for my health. This person is not good for my health.
Why do you think health has been something that wasn't really talked about enough in the world up until now?
Well, I think maybe up into the degree in which, well, first of all, like us as humans, like how much interest did we take within ourselves growing up? With the education systems that we have in place, we know like sleep is good, food is good, these things are good for you. If anything else, you go to see a doctor basically. And as I said, we've put a lot of faith in the external world to take care of ourselves because we are not taught like why or what or when, where, how. And we have come to a point in the world where there is so much information readily accessible that when you start to do the work for yourself and do the research, you actually start to see a lot of gray areas. It's like, why were we not taught that we have this control of our health? It doesn't matter why, but now is the time. So we start to spread this awareness and give the education because I believe there is so much potential that is being suppressed. And just a result of how society is set up and how things work, and that we are, as I said, constantly stimulated on the external side of things, so focused on those things that when we do feel some kind of ailment or something arise, it's we rely on external things to help us, and we put our faith outwards. And it is important to know that everything starts with you. So if you can start looking at your health, looking at your physiology, your mental and emotional states, and learn that you have the capability to regulate that, you stop giving your power outside of you. And it's a huge lesson that the world needs to know. I mean, can you imagine the different space that we would operate from if everybody is well emotionally regulated and feeling full of vitality
Secure.
and energy and secure within themselves? And it is very much a utopian idea, but the foundation and the potential is there.
Yeah, there's that Mel Robbins quote. It's all over Instagram.
I
It's
love
like,
Mel
no
Robbins.
one is coming to save you.
Yeah.
No one is coming to save you. Don't go to your doctor's not going to heal you. You need to heal you. The doctor can, and there's obviously issues within pharmaceuticals and how it rolls down into the education system. And eventually I feel like there's a huge indoctrination that's been happening across all industries. But even if, let's say, a functional medicine doctor that knows his stuff or her stuff and they really can give you the tools, you have to use the tools. You can't rely on them. It's like they're giving you the information. Now go do it. Go use it. Go implement it. Start taking responsibility for the things that happen in your life.
Yeah.
Everything. No one did anything to you. It only happens for you. If you stop and you see the mirror, it's like, okay, fantastic. This is happening for me. Now, how do I fix this? It's like you go buy a TV game. If you're a gamer, can you imagine plugging in, playing, and you walk straight through to the end and it's done? It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You want the challenges. So before we come here, you say, cool, God, I'm going to do this and I want to experience that. And you put this game together, and this whole life is actually just a game. But you have to go through the challenges. The challenges are the challenge is the path. The pain is the path. The path is the pain. Just go for the discomforts. Go for the challenges. Don't try run away from it. Life is not supposed to be easy. You can't have a good character and an easy life. It doesn't work together.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think because of the world in which we live and how easily accessible things are, made convenient, it really pushes us more into a state of comfort. And we are not going to evolve or grow as a species if we're in that state of comfort. You're not exploring, you're not expanding. So it is necessary that, obviously we are smart people, so we want to make things work for us in the easiest way, but not to the point where it starts to become a detriment to our own health and well-being, because we're not doing anything for ourselves. So we're not going to explore, we're not going to expand. And can you imagine an entire world where people are relying on somebody else to sort something? Then we're all going to wait for something to come,
I saw a video this morning that relates to that, where it says there's always going to be another challenge. And oftentimes I think we think, okay, as soon as I've done this, I've got the hard part done, then I can relax, then I can
insurmountable
chill.
mountain. Yeah.
Or you're at work and you're like, oh, as soon as Friday evening hits, then I can just relax and have some time. And then you have maybe an hour or two watching TV and you go, oh, I'm pretty bored now, And I think dealing with that harsh reality that there's always going to be challenges is, it's not easy.
And we need to be made aware of this at a young age, so that we can have the mental fortitude to understand how to embrace those challenges where they come.
And the failures that come along with it.
And know that that's okay, 100%, because there is no right or wrong. When we fail, it's a learning curve, right? And it's just a step forward, but we get shamed and alienated for certain things and that causes a dissonance within us. There is nothing wrong with failing and failing and failing again.
And not even that there's nothing wrong with it. It is absolutely critical. It is critical that we fail, because the failures make it worthwhile. The difficulty makes it worthwhile. If it was easy, then we can all do it. But going through the failure and realizing that without the failure, there's no success. It's two sides of the same coin. They are exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Because you fail successfully. And we're so afraid of this failure. It's like the whole schooling system in place. It's like you are so afraid to fail. We get this drilled into our heads, and I really don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it is a program to keep us docile and fearful, and just like the news. Watch the news. It's crazy. Like everything is just bad news, death, this, all the rest of it. We've got all these guys like pro-Palestine, pro-Israel, this, all the rest of it. Please tell me what your proness is actually doing for the people in Palestine or the people in Israel. What is it actually serving? Just let it go. Forget about it, because where is it? Not here and now. It's not here and now, because the only thing here and now is this. So the only way for us to really make a difference to Israel and Palestine or any sort of war-stricken country or difficult situation is actually just to stop and be like, I love everyone. I love myself. Let me find out how to love myself fully. Because as soon as you've done that, it starts flying all over the place.
You know what's so interesting in something like that is that we've got people who are pro these things because they obviously are against injustice. With the amount of injustice that's in the world and inequality and unfairness, we're like, no, I need to stand up to this. But the thing is that we are also operating from the same space, and we don't realize this. If you take protests, for example, I mean, there's various ways that you can protest. Some are more aggressive than others, but you are stemming from a space of hate for what is happening. So you need to stand up to that. And that unfortunately doesn't change the frequency of what is going on. It's just hate fighting hate. Even though your intentions are different and obviously better, you must look at where it stems from. Your intentions are good because you're angry, and therefore you want to fight for it. And that, unfortunately, is, I think, a big thing that humanity has missed, is that we really need to look at where we're stemming from and to align with that frequency for an actual change. But as long as you are filled with that rage and that anger and the unfairness, and we're going to go and fight for that, it's only ever going to be for that.
And so we spoke about meditation. What's the importance of breath work for someone that's stressed, anxious, doubtful, fearful?
So on a physiological basis, your diaphragm runs, your vagus nerve runs directly through your diaphragm. So when your diaphragm starts to get all tensed up, when you start to get stressed and your vagus nerve starts sending tense signals, your diaphragm starts to stiffen. So then you start to breathe more shallow. The more you can exercise that diaphragm and start to stretch it out, it starts to activate, it starts to do the same thing with the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve gets stimulated, and your vagus nerve basically runs from your brain all the way down to your gut. So it's your gut-brain highway. And it sends all the autonomic signals to the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, liver, stomach, all the rest of it. So when that's out of whack, that's when we go into that fight or flight. No healing can happen there. You can't think straight. You can't make correct decisions. Your is it the frontal lobe that then deactivates, so you aren't able to make critical decisions or critical thinking. So with breathwork, what it's doing is it's really expanding out that diaphragm and helping stimulate that vagus nerve, pulling you back into your parasympathetic or your rest and relax. And that's where healing happens. So like if you're running away from a lion, and you got a cut, trust me, your body doesn't give a fuck about the cut. It's worrying about the lion. So and we can't tell the difference. Your body doesn't understand the difference between your cell phone ringing that your boss is on the other line or a lion chasing you. A stress response is a stress response. So through that response, your body then, you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get better sleep, you're trying to heal your cancer, you're trying to heal your autonomic nerve, your autoimmune issues. But you can't really get there, and you don't know what's happening. But you are in such a state of stress that your body's like, no, I don't actually have time to lose weight. I'm only trying to keep you alive because you are like, we're gonna die soon. And that's what's happening in the subconscious. It doesn't know the difference. So taking that and using breathwork on a daily basis really helps with the psychology, and it also changes your brain waves. So depending on which one you do, but like Wim Hof method, for instance, is a fantastic one. We practice it often.
That's kind of where I got into the whole ice bath thing was Wim Hof, Iceman Hof.
Absolutely. That guy is incredible. Eh?
And I know he does a lot of breath work with when he's in the ice bath as well, and he practices a lot of breath work. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if you think about it, the essence, the foundation of life is breath. As soon as we are born into this world, it's we're gasping for air. It's to breathe. It's to bring life, everything into ourselves, and gives it the energy that we need. And just keeping that concept in mind, understanding like your breath is everything. Without it, you cannot exist. So fill yourself with as much of it as possible, because it will serve you so well.
And understand how to do it, because like we think we know how to do it, but like check yourself. You're probably breathing through your mouth. A lot of people. That increases cavities in the mouth, but it also activates your sympathetic nervous system. So to be breathing through your nose, taking long, deeper breaths, and this is also part of that presence, that meditation. It's a constant meditation through breath. But I mean, even like Andrew Huberman speaks about that one thing where it's just a double breath in and then a long breath out. So like, and it's unbelievable what that does to the mind. Just like softens all the cortisol out, and you're actually able to kind of get in a bit of more flow and less anxiety.
Okay, so unfortunately, this conversation does have to come to an end at some point. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and thank you to you guys for just being so present and authentic.
Except for that one part, yeah.
I mean, I really found, since you weren't in the original meeting, Maddie, but when you and I first met, Mark, and we went for coffee just to kind of discuss the whole sponsorship thing. And I mean, we didn't speak business for the first 45 minutes, and we just got to know each other on a human level. And I really feel like that's so important. And I'm excited to work with Thrive Labs in the future. Obviously, we use the ice baths.
Likewise.
But I just feel like our brands are very, very aligned. My final question for you two is, do you believe that everything happens for a reason?
Sure. You know what? That's a hard question to ask as the last one, because we can go into a whole nother podcast.
To be continued.
It's I definitely believe that, everything happens for a reason. It is your journey and it's almost like your spirit's venture on the planet, and it has had this path laid out before you, and no matter which direction you take is the path, right? And you learning to figure that out for yourself, and learning the greater purpose is a purpose. It's quite hard to say.
I've been working with, I am exactly where I am meant to be. I am exactly where I am meant to be, because I can't be anywhere else. It's so simple. It really is so simple. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I can't be anywhere else. Oh, but what happens if this happened? But it didn't. And now I'm here. So I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. So yeah, I mean, to try to think of it any other way than everything that happens is meant to happen you will go crazy. If you can understand that you are exactly where you are meant to be, everything, and then you can work with what you have, then everything changes. But if you're wishing for a different situation, how are you going to change that?
You're never going to find
it. And you're not in your authentic space. It's I think you will find that the minute you start operating from your authentic self, and I can speak from experience, having quit my job that I was in to pursue my passion here, it was a huge risk. I didn't know what tomorrow would look like. I was giving up a whole lot of things. But I can definitely say that I felt a great sense of peace and calm within me. And that was enough, because I stepped into my authentic space. And I think that is the purpose, to find your authentic self and let it be. And whatever comes from it is what that purpose is supposed to be.
Trust and allow it to flow. Like, don't think that you have control. You only have control now. Like we try to control way too much outside of ourselves. And if we just control what we have to control, and you work on it, you don't procrastinate, you take action, within the best of your ability and for the things that light your soul on fire the most, you will end up where you're headed.
I love that answer. And thank you to Real Global Productions for another awesome episode.
Yeah, thank you for having
Thanks,
us. It was
guys.
great.